Today we are covering human resources management, and I'll be covering Unit 1 of it. Unit 1 consists of 4 lessons. We'll go through lesson 1 and 2 today, maybe continue with lesson 3 and 4 tomorrow. And before knowing what is human resource management, we need to know what is resource first and how does an organization work. இப்போ ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் இருக்கு அப்படின்னா it needs both physical resources and human resources. It cannot operate without anyone. If there is only human resources and there is no physical resources, like let's say if in an IT company, laptops இல்ல keyboards monitors எதுவுமே இல்லாம humans can't work. So likewise, அதே மாதிரி if we just have the systems and there is no human to operate it, then that is also a failure. So to for effectively to run an organization, we need both the resources, physical resources and the human resources. So I have given an example for everyone to know that, let's say in a textile factory, the machineries which are, the spinning mills or the machineries, those are physical resources. And the machine operators, the supervisors, accountants, they are known as human resources. And when coming to the definition of human resources, so there are two people's definitions are given in our book. First one is Michael J. Josias, and he is defining human resources as a whole. It is a whole which consists of interrelated, which is related to each other, and interdependent. Also, one department and the other department is interdependent. They are dependent on each other and interacting, and they have to interact with each other, every one of them. And how it is through physiological, psychological, sociological, and ethical components. So the way of interacting in all these components, and often they are interrelated and interdependent with each other, and everything as a whole. Michael is defining it as human resources. And the other definition given by Leon C. McGinson, so they are defining human resources as knowledge, skills, and attitude obtained in a population. And when we say population, they are defining it from the national point of view. So let's take maybe state point of view in Tamil Nadu, let's say. So in Tamil Nadu, by the population, we are, scoring knowledge, skills, and attitude that the people have. So that is human resources. And for individual enterprises, such as like any organizations, if we take for example, they represent the total abilities, knowledge, and skills of its employees. So whatever the workforce the organization have, workforce is nothing but all the employees in the organization. So whatever the workforce they have, all the individual people in the workforce, whatever their abilities may be, knowledge and skills may be, those all contribute to the um, contribute to the human resources function of that particular organization. So this is how our book has given definitions. And then moving on, we are seeing about the uniqueness of human resources. So what is unique about human resource? The first thing they differentiate between human resource and physical resource is that human resource assets appreciate over a period of time. If we give proper training and development to a human resource, if we keep them motivated, if we compensate them enough, they appreciate over a period of time. They get promotions, they get transfers, they move from one department to another by gaining transferable skills. So they appreciate over a period. But in terms of physical assets, let's take CNC machines in a factory. So they only depreciate with years. So they don't give us, for whatever reasons we bought it, that is the only output it will give. It will not upskill itself. That is physical assets. So that is the main difference that they're saying, and it is the uniqueness of HR. So for human resources, it appreciate over a period of time. And then the second point they are saying, human resources mostly produce an output larger than the input. So basically, when talking in terms of machines, even take AI these days, if only we give the accurate input to AI, LLMs, and etc., it will give an output to us. So the output is based on whatever the input we give. But if we take human resources, since we have cognition in our brains working, we can produce an output larger than the input. So and it is important because it is happening because it is because of the creative skills of humans. Humans in nature are a creative being. So we can produce an output larger than the input. Even if we have limited input, we can go in and give a larger output. For example, let's say, man finding fire. They had only two stones, two rocks. They didn't know like rubbing it each other would produce fire. But eventually they did and found out that, okay, if we rub two rocks together or two stones together, it will create fire. So that is the example of creating a larger output than the input. And next point is saying human resources required to operate all physical resources, no matter the amount of physical resources that you deploy in your organizations. Evlo machineries நம்ம வாங்கி நம்மளோட கம்பெனில ஸ்டோர் பண்ணி வச்சிருந்தாலும், it requires a human to operate it. At least to switch on the system, we need a human resource. So that is one thing that is unique about HR. And then the last point is the most important one, and it talks about flexibility. Machines cannot be flexible. If we give them an input, it cannot go in by itself and flexibly work according to the output that we might want differently in in the time frame. So but human resources can do it. So let's say a company, let's take for example, a company is having a target of let's say getting a revenue of 300 million rupees, let's take, in the annual period of 2025-2026. So only humans can understand that, okay, what have we achieved in Q1, what have we achieved in Q2, do we need to slow down or fast pace the work that is going on to achieve this revenue by the end of the annual year. So that flexibility, that only can humans do it. They can only grasp that situation, like, okay, do we need to slow down, or do we need to go fast and make sure we are getting the revenue that we anticipated at the start of the year. Everything, we can only grasp the situation adequately, and then we can respond suitably to that. But machines cannot do it. That is the flexible component of human resources. And then are there any questions or any insights from the audience till this? Okay, moving on. So this is where we are going to start talking about human resource management. That is, in the past two slides, we have seen what is resources, what is human resources. Now we are going to understand in this entire subject how to manage this powerful human resource. Human resource is powerful indeed. So we need to know how it can be managed to run an organization effectively. And in terms of, let's take, if we take a nation as an example, in terms of running a government also, the person who's running it, at some level, they need knowledge about managing human resources. So it is not only applicable strictly for organization setup, it is also applicable for many things. Now, Edwin B. Filippo, he is the one providing an extraordinary definition for human resource management, where he is saying it is personal management, or say human resource management is the planning. First, we have to plan how many resources do we need, and then organizing. So we have the number of resources we need, but where do we deploy them? So let's take, if we need 100 resources, let's say, okay, 20 needs to be in the finance, 20 needs to be in the IT, 20 needs to be in the production, something like that. So that is organizing. And then directing. So only by having human resources is not going to do anything. They should be a superior level, or a person who is experienced enough to direct the people who are put into subcategories of organization. Just like I said, in finance, we may need a CA to direct the employees working in the finance department. For IT, we might need a IT manager, something like that. And then also controlling of the procurement. Procurement is nothing but recruitment, acquiring new companies, and how we are procuring the resources, not only human resources but also other resources for the company. So all of them, and then developing it. Development for human resources, let's say we are developing through many, learning and development programs. Many companies are doing it these days. And then compensation, by compensating them effectively. And then integration and maintenance and separation of human resources, to the end that individual, organizational, and social objectives are accomplished. So it has to accomplish the person who is, who is being hired in the company. It has to accomplish their objectives, and then it has to also accomplish the organization's objective. That is like, getting a resource, and then making them work for a need, and then also making sure that whenever the resource is not needed, then what is happening. These days we are getting news about, people are getting layoffs due to AI, and everything. So that is also needed. We have to organize that, and from an organizational aspect, if we think about it, that may be right for them. And then social objectives are also accomplished. And so socially, we have to be, everyone needs to have a job, or not everyone, but most of them needs to have a job to make sure our economically we are growing as a society. So that is what the very brief definition about human resources management. And then in HR terms, we can easily remember this as hire to retire. It starts with H and end with R. So HR. We usually, in most companies, we call this function as hire to retire. We are hiring someone, and then until they retire, whatever we need to do in between, from a perspective of the individual themselves, from a perspective of organization, and from a perspective of society, we need to do all that until they retire. That is what human resource management is. And moving on to the nature of human resource management, book has given many points, but I have just put together some of the important points here. So first thing they are saying is it's a pervasive force, which means human resources not only exist just in the HR department. There is one misconception that we have, that human resources is something that they operate is separately from the organization itself. But if we take into account the effort that is going into managing human resources, it is present in all parts of some departments. And some people also tend to say that, from experience, that not all managers can be human resources manager, but every human resources manager is a manager, so something like that. So it is present in all parts of something. That is why they call it pervasive force. And then the second point, it is saying it is action oriented. Even though human resources management has to record keep, has to write policies for the company, has to have procedures that people needs to follow, but also when it comes to important things, it is very action oriented. When something is changing, then human resources have to be action oriented. uh, and then the next point is saying it is individually oriented as well. And then we can also add development oriented in the same point, because human resources is a team, especially the learning and development department. Some companies they call it as training and development department, some companies call it as learning and development department. That specific department, they try actively to help employees develop their potential fully. So let's say if the company is hiring for an intern position, and then they give skills to the person, they train them, they make sure they can communicate effectively in meetings, they make sure in their focus area they are, receiving enough trainings to, do their work better. So it is not only just working for the cause of organization development, but it is also very much individually oriented. That is how a person can gain experience and grow in their career. And then the next point is saying it is people oriented. So people oriented is different from individually oriented, because when we say people oriented, it also it also accounts to the groups. So let's say if a group of people who are working in the CSR team, that is corporate social responsibility team, then we see them as a group, and we as in the human resources management team has to make sure that uh, their needs are satisfied. Whatever they need, it is being done. So something like that, and it differs from group to group as well. So that is why we are calling it people oriented. And the organization as a whole, as a group, then again it becomes people oriented. When we are implementing, when the human resources department is implementing, let's say a policy, a new policy, then it applies to everyone in the organization. So that is why it is called as people oriented. And then it is also future oriented. In many companies these days, strategic planning is happening only through effective human resource management. So strategic planning is a new department that is growing in terms of human resources. There, this team specifically goes and advises the leadership team, that is the CEO, CPO, CTO, uh, everyone in the executive position. They go and advise them, they influence them to make better decisions for the company that can help with the growth of the company in the future. That is why it is called as future oriented. And then integrating mechanism again, HR integrates people that are working at various levels and different departments. That is why they call it as the nature of HRM is integrating. And then comprehensive function again, if we talk about integrating, again, when we think about it, it is also comprehensive, because it has concerns with any organizational decision which has an impact on the workforce. And workforce not only represents only the level 1 or level 2 employees, it reflects, it means that everyone in the company has to deal with a decision, deal with an organization decision. That is why it is called as comprehensive function. It treats everyone as one. That is why it is called as comprehensive function. And then auxiliary service, they exist to assist and advise the people managers, as I was saying in the strategic planning before. Again, when it comes to managerial functions, like some people can be a manager, but they will not have enough managerial experience or something like that. They will not know how to be empathetic with their team. They will not know how to deal with discrepancies between two people in the same team. So in these scenarios, HR department, and some companies call it as employee relations department, they are the one to step in and guide the manager to make sure they have enough resources to solve the discrepancy, or be empathetic with their direct reports as such. So it is an auxiliary function, it advises the people. And interdisciplinary and continuous function, again, this is interdisciplinary. It doesn't only focuses on psychological part of the workforce, but also sociological part, also thinking about companies these days have to submit their CSR reports, corporate social responsibility reports, to make sure they are contributing something in return to the society. And then they have to think about the psychological safety of the employees, etc. So it is an interdisciplinary. It does not just work in one discipline. It works with multi-level, multidisciplinary activities. And then when we say continuous function, again, why it is mentioned as continuous function is it requires constant alertness and awareness. Every day, we don't know what is happening in the world. So I've just mentioned wars there, because wars are happening, and some companies may have their workforce based in, let's say, in this instance, let's say their workforce based in Middle East. So when it comes to, nobody knew that war is going to come, something is going to happen, and Middle East is going to be under attack or something. So this is when human resources needs to adapt and make sure and be always aware and alert, that to make sure the employees or the workforce that the organization is deployed is being safe, is being adequately compensated, and any additional things that they may require during this time of any crisis at all, we need to make sure that they are supported. That is why it is called as continuous function. For example, in my company, one example that happened in my company is there are many people who are staying in PGs and coming to the company and working. But due to this war, the LPG issue has happened. LPG shortage has happened. So many PGs paying us, they have said that we will not provide food for at least, we will not provide lunch, or we will cut down one meal per day. Then what happened? We as a HR team, we need to think about that. Our employees are well fed. They don't feel like their employers are not being supportive during this crisis time. So we made sure that okay, at least one meal we will give from our end. As an organization, we need to allocate a budget for that. We need to get approvals from the CEOs, CPOs, all the executive level leaders. But we need to again make sure that all the employees in the company are having the psychological safety that our employers are doing something to support us. So that is why it is called as continuous function, where they have to be constantly alert and aware. So this is the nature of HRM that is discussed as in book. I've just given some additional examples as well. Any insights or any questions from the audience? Let's make it interactive, please. Anything at all, if you have something to say. Uh,
I have a question here.
Yep.
Ma'am, what is the difference between HR and HRM? Can you tell me the difference?
Yeah, sure. So HR is just human resources. We
Mm,
talked in the earlier slides that what is the difference between physical resources and human resources. But
mm.
HR is a function which manages the human resources by
Okay.
effectively planning the workforce, organizing the workforce, etc. So, how to manage the human resources? That is human resources management. But human resources are just assets; they are just human resources, and they are, as we see,
Can
they
you
are
give me the simple definition of HR?
simple definition of HR.
Yeah,
I should say.
because
Uh,
it's the easiest way to understand. If we understand means we
mhm.
can easily write now, so that's why I'm asking.
So that is what
Because in the book,
I.
because it is
Mhm.
in the book, it's page number 2. It's often
Yeah.
interrelated or interdependent and interacting psychology, sociology, and ethical components. So, do you have any other definition like that, ma'am?
Priya, can we
Um,
make it simple as people management?
yes, yes, of course. It is nothing but people management. Uh, Putting people together in a room for an organizational cause and managing them. That is all it is. To put in simple words. Um, does that help?
Okay, thank you, thank you, ma'am. Thank
And
you so
why?
much.
Uh, yeah, sorry. Just to add, why in the book it says interrelated, interdependent,
Yes.
and interacting is because it's human nature, right? If we put people together under one roof, or again, now I'm a human, you are a human, we are connected in this meeting. It is our nature to interact with each other. It is our nature to be interdependent on each other, just like how you asked me a question and someone else, I'm not sure who it is, but someone else, gave a simple example that we can call it as people management. So it is just like that. We are interdependent on each other. We are interrelated again, and then we are interacting, and
Okay.
not only in terms of we need to ethically interact with each other. Again, it's not like we can just say anything at all in a in a public forum as such. So we have to make sure those things are followed. So that is what they call it as human resources. They interact with each other. They are interdependent on each other. Um,
Okay. And what is HRM, ma'am? Human Resources
uh,
Management.
exactly. So HRM, as in the if you have your book right now in your hand, in page number 3, if you see Edwin B. Flippo's definition, they state it as it is. It is nothing but bringing people together in one room again, but making
Okay.
sure it is planned, it is organized, it is directed, and it is controlled. Basically, we just can't have. Let's take a classroom for example. We just not have a bunch of kids, sitting in a classroom and just say that they will be okay. No, we need to plan first. We need to make sure they are sitting in the height wise order, to make sure students who are lower in height can see the board from the front seats easily, and the people and the students who are very much height, compared to them, who is taller than them, they can sit in the back benches so that they can also see the board easily, and making sure they're organized, and then making sure that they're directed by a teacher or a principal. Directed, the example is teacher, because they come into classrooms, they direct people, they teach the lessons, they develop the children. And then maybe for controlling, we can take example as the principal of the school, or the head of departments of the department. So they are controlling. They are also they are not only controlling the students, but indirectly they are controlling the students through teachers. So that is why we are calling this controlling also. So that is how HRM can be defined. This I
Okay.
put in a school or college-based example. If you think of an organization, it is all that is also. Organization is also, putting people and then making sure they are being directed correctly, to make sure the work is being done. And one manager will be there. They will be giving out. They will be giving out instructions to their team members. But senior manager will be there, who will be giving out instructions to the middle level manager. So all these things, that is what human resources management is, and making sure the organization is getting its revenue, basically, at the end of the day.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you
if,
so much for the explanation. Thank you.
no problem. Um, And moving on, this is the end of lesson one with scope of HRM. So they are in our book, they are giving three levels of scope for human resources management. And the first scope that they are defining is from a personal or labor aspect. Let's think ourselves as a personal, which is I am a human resource, or I am a labor of a factory or a company. Let's take that. So that is first scope. In that aspect, if we think about it, it deals with manpower planning. We have to plan how many employees do we need to deploy to make sure our organization runs in an effective way. And then we have to recruit. First planning the numbers, then we have to recruit the people. So how do we recruit? These days we have LinkedIn, and also we have walk-in interviews and everything. So that is how we recruit. And then we have to select the correct people. Again, this is an important thing, where we have to match their skills to what is required for the organization. That is what selection means. And then we have to place them. Now placement, it is a very vague area, because from the time of selection to placement, uh, both the person who is getting selected and the organization who is selecting them cannot be sure of what is happening, because the organization can just decline their offer anytime, or the person who first initially showed interest in the position can then say, can defer the position. They can say, no, I'm not interested anymore, and they can go away and choose any other offers that they may have. So the time between selection and placement is very crucial. We have to make sure that the communication happens effectively during this time. We have to place them in the role. And then after placing, what happens? Is it just that placing an individual in a role and that's it? The process ends? No, we have to make sure the person is getting enough resources to develop themselves, to train themselves, and make themselves better in the position where they are working. So the next natural process that happens is a transfer or a promotion. Transfer is basically moving from one department to another without any changes in their employment level. Let's say if someone is working as an administrator, then they are moving as an administrator to a different team. That is what transfer is. They might have transferable skills, that they learned in the previous position that they can apply in the new position. But promotion is something that is going to the next level. So if I'm working as an administrator, for example, then I am moving towards being a senior administrator or being a senior operations manager, something like that. So I'm getting promoted vertically in that aspect. And then training and development. Again, all this transfer and promotion, how it can happen? It is by training and development, developing the workforce that we have. We need to make sure that they have adequate resources. We need to make sure that they have time to study, learn. Again, this is something that is debatable in organizations these days. Let's say if someone logs into work at 9 o'clock and then logs out at 5 o'clock, and if they work and they take lunch for 1 hour, let's say, and then if they work all these 8 hours throughout for the current work that they are doing, where is the time for them to develop themselves? That is a huge debate that is going on in many of the organizations right now. And some companies are making sure that they are giving time that are not billable to their clients or something. They are making sure they are giving that time on cost of the company to make sure their workforce is getting skilled up. That is why training and development is very important. And if you think about it, the more the company focuses on upskilling of their workforce, the better the retention is. So the company need not to worry about whether our employee is happy or not. Again, this is coupled with many other things, but this is one of the most things. Some people may not leave the company just by thinking that, okay, here I have scope to develop myself. And I can get promotions easily, and the company is supporting me, giving me time to develop myself, and they themselves are training me. So this is something that is from a personal aspect, very, very important thing, training and development, and a very big motivation for employees to stay in the company as well. And then talking about positive, again, a negative comes in layoffs. If a company thinks that their budget is going out of the hand and they need to make sure they are uh, they are removing people from the organization to make sure the revenue stays up, they do lay up sometimes. Or they sometimes the client may have not selected the company, and then they go out of business and the company has to lay off, and these things happen as well. And then remuneration is again an important thing. We need to make sure the employees are compensated enough and compensated fairly, mainly. And then incentives, we need to, from time to time, we need to give incentives to employees to make them that again is increasing the retention percentage. So these are all, when thinking about these things, if you think about it in detail, it affects one individual person. So that is why they call it as personal or labor aspect. And then the second scope that they are detailing is a welfare aspect. From welfare aspect, if you think about it, mainly this will apply for all the organizations.
Theo, your voice is breaking.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay now?
It's okay for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello,
Okay.
Priya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
I think
Hello?
there may be an issue your side.
My side, is it? Okay. Everyone is okay
I'm
for?
not sure. I'm not sure.
How?
Can everyone hear me okay?
Please answer. Others are okay?
Yes, ma'am, we are okay. I'm okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Voice is clear.
Should be my side. Okay.
Great. Yeah, we just discussed about the personal aspect of
It should be my
human
side.
resources.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Please continue.
And coming to welfare aspect aligns to most organizations, but very importantly to organizations who work, who has a factory or who has a production unit that employs several people. Just let's say, let's take maybe a garments factory. Let's take. So there, welfare aspect is something that is concerned with working conditions, whether people are having enough air circulation, whether people are having, a drinking water aisle so that they can go and have drinking water from time to time, and then whether they have canteen if they, if they feel hungry, if they need to take a break, if they can go to canteen and relax themselves. And whether, for new mothers, whether creche or there, and then rest and lunch rooms for both, for all of them, all of the workforce, they need to be organized, restrooms and lunch rooms. And then if we think about a larger perspective, let's say, someone who is working in a tea plantation. That is the classic example when we come to think about welfare aspect of HRM. If someone is working in a tea plantation, then we need to make sure, that is in a hill area. We need to make sure that if they live downhill, we need to make sure we are giving enough transport to them. Again, transport. When it comes to women employees in India, we have this labor law that women employees needs to be dropped to their respective dropping points in a cab if they work night shifts or after 8 p.m. It is very, very important. The company provides the transportation. So these are all something that is, coming from a welfare point of view. Again, housing, as I was saying, if someone is working in a tea plantation and they live downhill, they can't just go down the hill and up the hill every day to just to, show up at work. They need to have a housing. So, the company has to make sure that they have an area to stay, they have a house to stay, or they need to give house rent allowance, everything as such. And medical assistance, if someone is experiencing anything abnormal, like any sickness or illness during their work time, or if they, unexpectedly meet a sudden, let's say, heart attack or something. I hope no one goes through that. But if something happens in the workplace, we cannot know anything of sure. So if something happens in that case, the medical assistance in the organization, in the company, in the building needs to be there. There at least needs to be a first aid thing. And if it is in a larger scale, let's say, then they have to have an ambulance, waiting at the entrance of the organization or the company. And then we need to make sure education, again, this is something that we can say, people working in outer states, like coming from one state and they are going to work in other states, then we need to make sure their children are getting education, or they themselves are getting education that they need. And then again, health and safety is required. We need to make sure, people who are working in our company is healthy, and make sure they are safe. There is this thing that is going on in many corporates right now, is that every company will give a annual checkup kind of, they will give a coupon kind of, or they will give a benefit kind of to all its employees, to make sure, to review their health. They will give an annual health review kind of bonus cards and everything, so that people can go in and, run a blood test, uh, run a complete blood test or something, and then they can come to think about, okay, how healthy I am and what I need to change. These are all some of the welfare aspects that is going on. Again, well-being and recreation facilities also needs to be there. Let's say, again, if children are being relocated due to parents' job, they need to have some time to go out and play, to, have a park that is common for all the employees that are working in that company. They have to have a place to enjoy. And again, recreation facilities, some companies, they give out, coupons for, food apps, or coupons for hotels and theaters, so that they can go and enjoy themselves by having a nice time watching a movie or having a nice dinner. So these all come under recreation facilities. Then the third scope of HRM deals with industrial relation aspect. Now, this is what in most companies they call as employee relations. Industrial relations is when in many industries were there. Now, in corporate slang, they call it as employee relations. So it pertains to union, labor union. Factory workers can form a union and they can have a leader that represents themselves, that they are called as union leader. And if the laborers are having any issues at all regarding to management, then this union leader will represent and come to the management and they fight for their rights. It does not needs to go to fight level, but at least they come and negotiate for the rights of the laborers. And then they have this negotiations going on between management and union. And one such example, if many Tamil folks are there, Sivam is as a movie is a great example of that, having union management relations. If you think about it, Nasser is running this huge company, and the salary wages that they are giving to their employees was very very less. So Kamal, as a comrade we see in that movie, he fights for it. He goes against the management and fights for it, and then make sure even at the end, after facing so many struggles, at the end the comradeness shows up, and then he asks for a better compensation for the laborers working in the company. So that is one best example for union management relations. And then joint consultations again. The laborers and in corporate terms, the employees and the management is having joint consultations and making sure that the decision that the management is taking is good for both the management and the employees working on it, and they find a middle ground about it. That is what joint consultations are about. And then collective bargaining. This is very much opposite to joint consultations. Here, the collective bargaining is bargaining something that benefit themselves. So either the employees fight for something and bargain for something that maximum at the maximum benefit employees only, and it puts management into something of a low, how to say that, low favorable position, and employees are getting the major favorable position. That is called as collective bargaining, and it can happen vice versa also. So that is collective bargaining. And grievance and disciplinary actions. Grievance and disciplinary actions is something, like if the person who is working under a manager, or if a couple of people who are working under a manager comes to the employee relations team or the industrial relations team and say something about the manager, and say that their managing style is not good and they are treating us not like an employee, they are treating us very badly. So these are employee grievances that we need to handle. And again, it can work vice versa also. If a manager is having a very difficult direct report who is not working the way that the manager want them to, who is not at all listening to what needs to be done in the work, then again this is a manager grievance that we need to make sure we need to enter and negotiate between them. And sometimes it will go on to performance improvement plan, and corporates call it PIP. In short, PIP is nothing but performance improvement plan. They put it under them to resolve the grievance and everything. And disciplinary actions, one main example that I can give out for disciplinary actions is most of the not most of the companies, all companies who are having women employees needs to have it as per Indian labor code. That is POSH, POSH, POSH. That is prevention of sexual harassment. So this is one type of disciplinary action. If a woman employee or even a whistleblower, that may be a male or female, come and gives, discloses the inhuman act that was happening, that was the sexual harassment is going on to the employee relations team of their company or the human resources person of that company, then we have to carefully analyze. We have to act as a court in basic. We have to take information from both sides, analyze it. We can have as many eyewitnesses or as many evidences that we can, and then we have to make sure that we are also, companies make sure that they are also involving a third party advocate in these cases, just to make sure that there is no bias in the outcome. So if after all these things, if someone uh, turned out to be the victim, and someone's turned out to be the person who is doing this inhumane thing, then we have to take the disciplinary action and we have to make sure the person is terminated from the company. So that is why the industrial relations aspect is very important again. And then settlement of disputes. Again, this can be any disputes between, either it can be between manager and the direct reports, or manager and the senior manager, or employees in total against the management, the executive leaders, like CEO, CFO, etc. These all comes under dispute, and we have to make sure, as a human resource management who's managing the human resources, we have to make sure that the dispute is settling, and it can settle in any way. It can go into some, the best will win, like not the best, the person who is having, who is asking for fair asks, they are going to win. That will be at the end of the settlement of disputes. So these are the scope of HRMs that our book is defining. And and lesson 1 ends here. Any questions or anything before we jump on to lesson 2? Okay, I'll just move on. And lesson 2 talks about what are the functions of human resources management. What do they actually do? That is what lesson 2 is discussing about. And this is managerial functions. Let me go into detail. The functions of HRM, they are classifying it into two major things, and one is managerial functions, and the second one is operative functions. Managerial function is nothing but, as we discussed in the before definitions and all, it is again, managerial functions is nothing but planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. And as I was saying before, again, managerial functions can be performed by any manager. They don't have to be human resources manager role. They don't have to know the nuances of human resource management, what we are going to see in the next topics of the book. They don't have to know all these nuances. They just need to know how to manage a team, or how to manage a person as their direct report, and it can be performed by anyone. So that is why it is called as managerial function. It can be anyone. It is not operations. And operative functions, on the other hand, if we see, it deals with procurement, development, motivation, compensation, maintenance, and integration. And all these, if we think about it, they are specialized activities. And it can be only performed by the HR managers. Anyone that have, anyone cannot just go in and do procurement, or manage compensation without knowing the benchmarking of the place, or they just can't do it. They need to be trained in human resources management before they go into operative functions. And for whom they do it for all departments. So if we read it, it will be very clear. Managerial functions can be performed by any managers, irrespective of their departments. It doesn't matter what their department is. But operative functions are specialized activities performed exclusively by the HR managers, and for whom they do it usually for all the departments. So this is the main difference between managerial and operative functions. But as a whole, they come out as the functions of HRM. These are the main two classifications under functions of HRM. And this lesson only talks about this: what is planning, what is organizing, what is procurement, what is development. And under procurement, we have several subtopics. Under development, we have 4 to 5 subtopics. This is how this lesson goes, in a nutshell. And moving on to, okay, this image that I have added here, because uh, our book only deals with two functions, which is managerial and operative functions. Those are very traditional HRM functions. These were happening in very traditional settings, but in this modern day and era, with AI and all coming into place, it is already there. It is not coming in. It is already there. AI is evolving So in this day and era, advisory function is also become a main function of the human resources management. This is not given in our book, but just for our knowledge, I have added this picture here, because advisory group is the one who advises to the top management to say that you're overdoing it or you're underdoing it. We need to make sure that this needs to stop, or we need to make sure that this needs to start, so that the organization can attain its goal. So that is the advisory department too. And also it advises to the departmental heads. They go in and say that, hey, you see, in from the overall budget, your department has been allocated to this budget, and you're doing all these things, but revenue is not there from a finance perspective. Again, if employees' grievances are, as a person who is working in the HR team, usually what they do is they collect feedback from the employees from time to time, and they will analyze it. They will run the data, and then they make an analysis, and they can find out, like, okay, which department actually rates their happiness at the highest, or which department rates their overworking time at the highest. All these data points can be collected, and they can, from this data points, they can go in and advise to their departmental heads and say that, see, from the last feedback, employee feedback that we received, you can see that compared to other departments, your department people are saying that they are overworking, or they are not being happy in their roles. So you need to make a shift. You need to make something to correct this. Otherwise, what will happen? People will leave, clients will leave, organization will not flourish. All these will happen. So this is an important function, evolving function, that is currently added to the modern HRM, that is advisory function. But our book only deals with managerial and operative for now. Um, Going into managerial functions. Managerial function, as I was saying, only deals mainly with four things: planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. I've given a very large explanations here, but I'll make sure I can explain it well. So planning, what does planning mean? Again, we have talked through this many times now. It is forecasting the human resource needs. Okay, now I have, let's say I'm the company. Now I'm thinking, okay, I have 1,000 employees to work for me, but then I'm getting, I'm a production company or something. I'm getting a huge order from a different client, or I'm getting a new client as a whole themselves. Then what I need to know, I need to forecast my human resource needs. I need to make sure that people are not overworking, or people are I am running out of people to work uh, to attain the goal. I need to forecast, okay, what is happening, how I can plan for this, how I can manage to give my resources or give my inputs to this new client. I need to make sure my forecasting is correct. And then again, only forecasting is not enough. Developing strategies to meet those ends. How we are going to uh, actually fill these positions, that is again needed. Um, one example that I can give is, some companies acquire other small companies to make sure they immediately get a hike in their workforce numbers. So let's say, I'm not sure if I have any relatable examples. But let me say, let's say TCS is a huge company, for example. It's a very huge consulting company that is operating in India. But then, and mostly they work for uh, government of India projects. They work on government of India projects, like, for election commission, they work for PWC, Public Works Department, PWD, Public Work Department, they work. So they work for different clients under the government of India itself, let's take, for example. And now election is happening in few of the states, 5 or 6 states. It was happening in these 2 months. So now election is happening, so they have to make sure the vote slips are being distributed. People who have shifted from one place to another are being cut down from that constituency and added to another constituency. All these things, it is happening. It should happen. And people who have died, unfortunately, they need to be removing them from the electoral roll. And then what else happens. Um, and then if the officer turns up at their house and if they are absent, then again they have to make sure that whether they are shifted or something. All these needs to happen when an election comes up, right? So at that time, um, this election commission will, let's say, will tell to teachers that we need to develop a new app that supports the people who are going from house to house and managing this. This SIR happened recently. Um, I don't know the abbreviation for it, but it's a specialized intensive report, I think, that happened. So for that, if you remember, we have to go in and fill out the forms, we have to go in and hand it over to the person that is allocated to our area, and they took our photos, they uploaded in some app and everything. And let's say TCS is the company who is developing this app. So they need to make sure that they are forecasting that election is going to come in 4 states and 1 union territory. They need to say that, okay, this kind of app is what we need. That is an Android app, or it needs to be available in both Android and iOS platform. So they need to hire for, developers, testers, managers, project managers, scrum masters, everyone, to make sure that this app is being developed in time and being given out to the end users. That is the booth level officers that are coming to our house and collecting our SAR forms and all. So this is one great example for planning the human resources needs. And then again, that is what they have explained in a uh, very detailed format. They are saying analyzing the current workforce, identifying gaps, determining the number and types of employees required to achieve organizational goals. Again, types of employees, when we say it, because an app does not only just require a person who knows how to code. It is not just that. There will be front end developer, there will be back end developer who needs to manage how the data is stored. And again, there will be tester who need to make sure that whatever the developer has developed it is working correctly. And then there should be scrum master who need to make sure the project is going in its own way, and the result will be, the end product will be developed at the estimated time. All these needs to happen. That is why types of employees also very, very important. And then effective HR planning ensures that the organization has the right talent in place at the right time. When it comes to planning, when we are writing managerial functions as an answer in the answer paper, when it comes to planning, the main keyword that we need to remember is that right talent in place at the right time. It is having right talent in place at the right time. That is what all planning is about. And then having that is the crucial for operational success, as we all know. Now, moving to the next one, that is organizing.
Priya, you'll be completing lesson 2?
Ma'am, I'm thinking I'll complete a managerial function and maybe check out the operative functions tomorrow.
Okay. You have this is a unit 1. How many lessons in unit 1?
Four
3
lessons.
lessons,
There are
huh?
four.
4 lessons. Okay.
The fourth
Okay.
lesson is very, very short.
Okay,
Uh,
you have 15 minutes. Don't worry. 15 minutes.
yeah, okay.
Whatever you can finish, you can finish. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. And so planning we have seen. Now moving on to organizing. So organizing again refers to the structuring of the HR department and allocation of resources. So now, when it comes to organizing, again, as we spoke, as I was saying earlier, it needs to make sure the role is being defined. That is, only when the role is defined we can put out a job post and have the responsibilities listed and look out for the right person. Without organizing, we cannot do that. So we have to define the roles and responsibilities, and we have to make sure that this person, not one person in an organization works alone. They don't. No one works standalone. They have to interact with uh, one or other person. They have to be interdependent with one team or another team. So we also need to make sure that the relationships are defined. Okay, if I am deploying or if I am hiring for a, let's say, a IT developer, then I need to make sure that who all this IT developer will work with. First stakeholder they will work with is the client. They will ask for client, what does the client need? So they need to form a relationship, form a rapport. build a rapport with the client first, and then they need to make sure they are building a rapport within their team itself with other fellow developers so that they can brainstorm and come up with ideas. Then the next one, this coding team, whatever they develop, before going into implementation, it will have many process, many things going on. So it needs to be managed effectively by a manager or a scrum master. As you know, scrum master is an effective position in IT companies these days. So they have to also again work closely with the scrum master and make sure whatever the scrum master is asking updates on, they need to give. They need to work on that project workflow. They just can't work without a plan or something. Again, uh, who else do they need to build relationship with the testers? When the testers are testing the code that the developer has written and saying that their output is not matching what client requires, or the saying the output is even matching, for that also the tester is very very important. They will give how many of them turned out negative and how many of them turned out positive. So that also they need to give. So they need to build a relationship with testers as well. So like this, we need to make sure that with whom and all they need to build a relationship with. And then very very important, ensuring that HR policies and practices are executed efficiently. Let's talk out of being in a team as of now and just be an employee for an employer. Employer is the company, employee is the person who is working for the company. So now let's just think about that. So HR policies and practices are something that is applicable for the company as a whole. So the employees need to make sure that it is being executed efficiently. The HR team needs to make sure that it is being executed efficiently. In terms of efficiency, what does it mean? All the employees needs to accept whatever the policy and practice that is being implemented on them, and there need not to be many negotiations or many disputes that is happening because of the new policy or practices. One such example that I can provide is, let's say a company is having a sick leave policy, and then for the previous year, the company was giving 20, it was very good. It was giving 20 days sick days in a year. And then the company realizes that through data analysis, again, everything, the company realizes that people are taking sick leave whenever there is a festivity happening, or whenever there is a government holiday that is happening, they are coupling sick leave with these days and taking a long leave kind of, and they are misusing the policy, let's say. So whatever the company needs to take an action, and then what they will do, they will just say, okay, you should not take sick leave without a medical certificate or a medical note from a doctor, signed and sealed, coupled with festivity days or other government holidays. If they are enforcing this as a policy, then again there need not to be many disputes that are arriving from the employees end. If they arrive, the company has to negotiate it, and that is when it can be executed effectively. That is again another part of organizing. And then why it helps, why organizing helps, because it creates a collaborative work environment, and then that fosters performance and aligns with organization's objectives. At the end of the day, if you look into it, it aligns with the organization's objectives. It aligns with what organization uh, you know uh, needs to achieve. That is all what it is about. But again, it will not be so unfair to the employees, because organizations are very much dependent on its workforce only. Without workforce, no organization can thrive. So that is the second managerial function that is being discussed. And then the third one in the book, it is saying staffing. So here I have not included staffing, but it is very simple. Staffing is nothing but determining the type of people need to be hired. What type of people does this team need? And then determining it, that is something. And then recruiting prospective employees and selecting the best ones from them. Sorry, just give me a minute. I'm getting continuous calls from someone and I'm not sure if it is urgent. I'll just be back. Sorry everyone for stopping abruptly. Um, So, as I was saying, organizing, we have seen. The third thing that is discussed in our book is staffing. Staffing, as I was saying, determining the type of people needs to be hired. What kind of people do we need? Do we need dominant people? Do we need influencer? So, if we need dominant people, then we are hiring for only managers team, because managers at some level they need to be dominant. And then, do we need influencer people? If you take a sales team, if I'm hiring for a sales team, let's say for salesperson, then definitely they have to be influencer to make a sale. So for if I'm hiring for a sales position, then I need to make sure that person is um, influensive enough. So that is the first point, determining the type of the people that need to be hired for the open position. And then second thing is recruiting prospective employees and selecting the best ones from them. This is nothing but interviewing part. Conducting interviews, having getting people through resumes and CVs, and then having a chat with them, having a questionnaire or giving out a questionnaire and having them fill it. It can be anything, but a type of interview. We already know about the type of interviews that we have studied in previous semesters. So any type of interview, we need to interview people and we need to recruit only the prospect ones who we think are the best fit. Then we need to recruit them. Then compensating the employees. Again, staffing comes with compensation. At the time of interview, at the time of we are saying you are selected to a person only as a human resources person, we need to say to that person how much they are being compensated, what is their annual income will be, or what is their monthly income will be, or what is their day wages will be. Even if we are, let's say in your house, a plumbing line has gone, the pipe has broken or something, then you hire a plumber from outside. You hire someone, even before they start working, you will ask, or they will ask, how much will you pay, or how much will this cost. So that is the compensating the employees. This is very small example, but think of it in a large organization perspective. And then again, staffing requires training and development of employees, as we have already discussed, and setting performance standards. Performance standards is very, very important. At the end of this in unit 4 of this book, we are going to see about only performance assessment, how performance can be managed in an um, organization perspective. Performance standard is nothing but we need to make sure, like, how much is good enough. Let's say for a sales position, again, I'm taking sales as an example here. Let's say one salesperson needs to sell out 10 of the products. Then that is when they will receive the incentive. So for each 10 products that they sell, they will receive incentive. So what is the performance standard here? To sell 10 products at least is the performance standard. So that we need to set that according to the, again, organization's objectives. And then we need to counsel the employees. We need to make sure they are following the policies, procedures, and if they have anything that needs to be discussed, then we have to give counseling to them. Then directing is the leadership aspect of HRM. We've already seen what directing is in a classroom setup. Directing is nothing but I have given an example as a teacher of a classroom. So we need to motivate let's take again a classroom as an example. The teacher needs to motivate the students. They need to guide the students to achieve organization goals. In a classroom setup, it will be, as a whole, their school's goals or the classroom goals or the individual students' goals also. We need to make sure we motivate them enough and guide them enough so that it can be achieved. And then again, this function involves effective communication. And if two students fight between themselves, then we need to make sure the teacher is going in and the resolution is happening there wherever the conflict is. And we have to give motivation to the employees. And then we have to foster a positive culture. Again, classroom is the best example. We have to foster a positive culture. And then we need to ensure that employees are engaged, directing plays a critical role in enhancing workforce productivity and satisfaction. Wherever the directing is good, and overall satisfaction of the workforce will be very, very good, because they people often reflect what leadership reflects. If the leadership is rude, then employees working in the company will be rude. If the leadership is polite and down to earth and everything, the employees will also get motivated by them, and they will think that, okay, if a leader is only like that, why can't I be? And then they will also be down to earth, they will also be polite, humble, everything. So directing is very, very important. And then the last thing of today's this managerial functions, last thing is controlling. Controlling, as I was saying, it is like the executive positions, or in a classroom setup, in a college setup, it is the head of departments. In a school setup, it is the principal. So they are just controlling, monitoring the employee performance and comparing it against established standards. Again, we are setting the performance standard in staffing, but controlling is the one who actually compares it against the standards. And then this function ensures that organizational goals are being met and allows for corrective actions to be taken when necessary. So let's say if again, let's take revenue as an example here. So if the organization goal is to achieve 300 million rupees as revenue by the end of the financial year, then again, it will continuously make sure that, okay, if this is being happening, what needs to be corrected for this to happen, if we are going in the right way, or if we are going in the complete opposite way to whatever our goal is. So these all things the controlling function does it. And by evaluating performance metrics and implementing feedback mechanisms, HR can maintain high standards of productivity and employee engagement. Again, getting feedback from employee themselves, make sure that the productivity standards are high, and then we have a happy workforce altogether. This is very important in terms of controlling also. To We can say this is an influencing part. We need to take feedback from the employees. We need to influence the workforce back again, saying that this is working for our organization, so that the control is not going out. So these are the main managerial functions that are being discussed. And the five things are planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. I think for today this will be good. And then we can start from the operative functions. Operative functions dives very deep into each topics. We can start it as a fresh topic from tomorrow. Any questions or any insights from the audience?
Very well prepared, Priya. Very nice, detailed. So very nice. Your preparation is very good. So no questions. We'll continue tomorrow. You
Yeah,
can stop
sure.
recording. No, you can stop
Okay.
recording.
Sharing my screen. Great. Great. Could you please also confirm if the slides are showing?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Till yesterday's class, we would have seen until managerial functions of human resources management. From in today's class, we are going to continue with the operative functions, and then also covering lesson 3 and 4, which are very simple lessons. So operative functions is has a major classification. It is classified into 5 different functions, which is procurement, development, compensation, maintenance, and integration. And under each one of them, we have many subtopics as shown in this screen. And this is taken from the from our book itself. So we can go ahead with the titles one by one. So first of all, we need to understand what is operative functions. Operative functions are nothing but specialized HR activities. If you remember, yesterday we would have discussed managerial functions can be get done by any people, but operative functions in human resources management can only be done by effective and specialized HR people who has done a degree in HR or who has gain experience many years in HR department. So only they can operate, they can do operative functions of HR. And then what is happening in operative functions? The first one is procurement, as we seen from the last slide. The first classification is procurement. Procurement is nothing but acquiring the right people with the required skills. Right people with right talent is what procurement is all about. And what are the subtopics that are getting involved in procurement function is, first we need to analyze what type of job role um, do we need to post about, what are the duties of the person who is going to be hired for this job, and what are the requirements that the company is expecting uh, for the potential hire to have. And then the second one is human resource planning. And what is that is, again, forecasting to make sure that the number of people that are available to complete the requirement of the organization. That is what human resource planning is, and we are also going to see human resource planning as a separate big topic in lesson 4 altogether. And recruitment, as we all know, attracting potential candidates by these days we are giving out ads in newspapers and open positions in LinkedIn, Naukri kind of job platforms, etc., etc. That is what recruitment is all means. And then selection, um, after posting the ads and everything, people will be applying for the jobs, and then we have to choose the most suitable candidate based on their qualifications and based on the requirements that is needed for the job. And then after selecting, what we have to do, we have to actually place that person for the job, which means onboarding the person into the company. That is what we call as placement. And then after placement, what we need to do, we need to do the induction and orientation section, in which the HR team has to debrief about the company in a very general manner, and also talk about what are the policies that are available in the company, what are the benefits that are being given by the company to the new joiners, and then everything, and the culture of the company and what is their role is about. Those all will come in job specific orientation. We have induction, which deals overall about the company policies and other things, but orientation is something which is very job specific, for what role they have been hired, then their team will be giving knowledge transfers, etc. That is why induction and orientation is very important. And then internal mobility. So does the procurement function just ends with just placing a candidate and then making sure that they are being trained? No, it does not ends there. There is something else called internal mobility. If that person wants to move from this team to another team within the same company, or if they want to get promoted in the same team, or if they even want to exit the company at one point, then this also needs to be done, and that all comes under procurement function. Then next operative function is development function, which focuses on the improvement of employees, making sure the employee is getting their skills and abilities, and they are working towards it. They are working towards upskilling themselves. So the first topic that comes under development function is training. So we have to make sure that continuously they are learning in the job. That is training. We have to give knowledge transfers, as I was saying, and we have to make sure they have all the potential resources that is required for them to do the job correctly. And then executive development is nothing but, let's say if a person is joined as an intern, then they will have to move into after 3 or 4 years, they'll have to move into the senior position where they can manage other interns that are joining at that point in time. So the company, as a company, we have to also make sure that the executive development process is also happening parallelly, so that they can be good managers in the future. Then the next thing is career planning and development. We have to make sure that we are providing enough options as a human resources
management team, we have to make sure that we are providing enough resources and enough time for people to think about their career in a futuristic way, and making sure that we are aligning them towards a path where they can achieve their career goals. That is what career planning and development all means. And then human resource development overall, which is just overall development of employees and overall development of organizational capabilities as well. If we support the employees to develop themselves, to upskill themselves, obviously the retention rate will be very, very less. The employees will want to stay in the company, and therefore we are also increasing the skill level of organization as a whole. That is what development function is all about. And then moving on, we have motivation and compensation function, again another operative function which encourages employees to perform better through rewards and job designs. Let's take sales for an example. In sales related roles, commission plays a major role, because commission is main kind of motivation and enough compensation for people achieving their targets by by a quarter or by month end. If we are setting a goal and people are achieving it, in many sales roles they have commissions and incentives just to make the people work better uh, through these rewards. And what are the subtopics in motivational compensation? Again, job design. We are structuring and saying that these are the tasks that needs to be done by you, and these are how many things, how many sales that you have to be completed. Then only you will be eligible for this for this compensation or for this reward. And then we also need to schedule the work, planning our work hours, and also patterns. So say we have clients globally, so we need to have a team which are working in India time. We need to have a team. If we have clients in the US, we need to make sure that there are people available in the US time, so that they can pitch in their sales during that time. So all this scheduling needs to happen. And then again, we have to motivate the employees, as I was saying, using financial and even sometimes non-financial incentives as well. Non-financial incentives, if you ask, it involves just appreciating a person in a team call, or just praising them in an email with senior managers in having visibility to it. Those are all very kind of non-financial initiatives or incentives. And we can also in some companies they will provide an award kind of a certificate kind of things, and that also comes under non-financial incentives. And then we have to make sure the job is evaluated, which means again coming to compensation area, where we are benchmarking this role with other similar roles in the market that is available. So let's say, for example, if an IT developer is about to join our company and they are requesting for some amount, some salary, we need to then make sure that is benchmarked against the market value of the IT developer. And we need to compare and contrast with how much other IT developers in other companies are getting paid. So that is what job evaluation is, and we need to make sure that they are getting their fair pay. And the performance appraisal, again, some companies run it annually, some companies run it half yearly, and some companies quarterly, to make sure the performance is strong. Very high performing companies, they run quarterly performance appraisals, and making sure the performance is consistent. And also, whenever the performance comes out to be negative or less than what is required, they will run a performance improvement plan and make sure the performance doesn't go very, very low. And then compensation administration is again all about paying salaries to people, deciding how much one needs to be paid, and based on their skills. If it is a very niche skill, say not many people have this skill, and then obviously in the market the salary for that role will be very high. So we need to make sure, okay, if this is a niche skill or if this is a common skill that is available in the market. If it is a niche skill, then we obviously have to pay more. If it is a common skill, then we have to compare with others and we need to pay it, so that um, there is no comparison that is happening within the teams, and there is no disputes coming up. People realizing, for the same role they are paying different salaries which are very different from each other, then it will obviously create a dispute which the HR team doesn't want. So that is what compensation administration is all about. Then incentives and benefits, like again, like bonuses and insurance, health insurance or term insurance, companies are providing it at their cost. And then perks like, you know, companies can give coupons to its employees from time to time and say that, hey, you can use this coupon to buy something off Amazon or Flipkart or something like that. Or they some companies even give food cards like Sodexo cards and everything as a employment perk. And also again, companies themselves take up the cost of up to 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs some insure based on whatever plan the company has. They give medical insurance cover for the employees. And then bonuses from time to time, like annual bonuses, they most companies used to give. So these are the motivation and compensation functions under operative functions. Moving on, we have maintenance functions. Again, from the name itself, we can see that maintenance is nothing but ensuring employees well-being and long-term retention. We need to make sure as long as the employee is performing well and the project is going well, we need to we need to follow the retention policy and make sure this employee stays within the company. So for that, we what we need to do, we need to make sure we are providing safe and healthy working conditions in the office. And then we need to make sure like housing, transport and recreation facilities are available for in a welfare aspect, as we were seeing yesterday. And then also again, social security measures, like we need to make sure the provident fund is there. We are in provident fund, we have employee contribution and employer contribution, so we have to make sure that we are doing both, so that when the person want to retire or something, they have enough fund in their provident fund. And then pension again, after retirement it will come into effect. We can also say gratuity pay. If a employee leaves after 5 years of experience in a company, then they should get a gratuity pay, severance pay, like that. And then maternity and medical support. Maternity leave is very common. Not only common, it is mandatory for companies to provide to female employees when they are expecting for 6 months time. So again, these are social security measures. And then moving on, the other function is the integration function. Integration, from the name itself, again we can see that it needs to align employees goals with organization goals. An employee is an individual who works for the company, but they might not get the gist of what the organizational goals are. So who needs to bridge this gap is the HR team or the HR department working in the company. So we need to make sure the grievances are addressed in a timely manner, so that nothing goes beyond the hand. And then we need to make sure there are rules and order in the workplace. We need to maintain that, and the teamwork needs to be collaborative, and there should be no disputes, or there should be no ego clash between the team members, so that the teamwork can be better. And then collective bargaining, as we were saying, again negotiation between employers and employees. If they have something, if they want something, and they can negotiate with the employers and they can get it by collective bargaining. And we need to make sure that employees are involved in the decision making. So let's say if the HR team is bringing in a new policy for the overall company, we need to also ask the employees decision in it. What do they think about the new policy, or what do they think the HR team could have done better in the new policy. So this employee participation is also very important. And trade unions, again, very much applicable in factory setup, where trade unions can come in and they can protect employees interest. Industrial relations, again, maintaining the harmony between management and workers. Again, this concept exists as employee relations in most of the corporates now, where they are the bridge between the management team, which is the people who are running the company, and the employees who are working for the company. So HR needs to be a bridge between these two and make sure there is harmony every time. So this is the integration function. And then what are the emerging issues in operative functions, or what are the HR challenges that requires continuous improvement is, first thing, personal records. The HR team needs to maintain the employee data. For example, let's say emergency contact of an employee, let's say, and the employees coming into work, they are doing their work as usual, but then unfortunately suddenly something happens. If the personal record of that employee is not updated, for example, the emergency contact, we wouldn't know whom to contact and whom to reach out and ask for help or inform someone, some close member of the employee. So personal records needs to be maintained, and then we need to make sure the audits are done effectively, so that the salaries are going into payroll. For example, salaries are going into payroll effectively, with the correct figures, so that audit needs to be done every time. Another example for audit I can give is when the new joiners are joining in a company, they run a background check. So we need to make sure that the background check is completed and audited before the person joins into the company, so there is no black mark or there is no fake person joining into the company. And then we need to improve the HR policies. For example, these days, if you say remote working policy is an emerging one. Many companies, even though they have asked employees to come back into office and work from office, remote working is something many people are opting in for it. So many companies are asking their HR to implement a policy for remote working. So that is also happening. So that is something happening through HR research and accounting, that is measuring the HR value. And HRIS, again, we are going to talk about HRIS in brief in the next slides. That is the digital HR data system where employees can self-serve and add in their details themselves. And also, the HR team will only have edit access to few things so that they can update, such as salary. So if some person is getting a salary review or a hike, then only the HR team can go in and edit in the HRIS system. And then we need to make sure the employee well-being is well managed by giving counseling or by giving employee assistance program. That is what they call it, employee assistance program, where they have a third party counseling company with them, and then the employees can reach out to the counseling company and they can get counseling for free, at least a few sessions in a month. That can be done. And international HRM, so many companies are being global in today's world. So we need to make sure the global workforce is being managed effectively, because a few policies are statutory, that is government mandated in some of the countries, but in a few countries that is maybe not very mandatory. For example, from my experience I can say that European countries have something called parents leave, which means that for new parents the government has mandated that 9 weeks of leave, or the numbers can differ, but 9 weeks or 7 weeks of leave needs to be given to the employees if they have become new parents, and no matter the gender. It can be father of the child or mother of the child also. Parents leave is something that government mandated thing in European countries, many European countries. But when it comes to Asia Pacific countries like India or Bangladesh or Pakistan, it is not much mandated by the government, and there is no concept of parents leave in many Asia Pacific countries. So the HR team needs to make sure that the statutory policies are applicable based on the global workforce. So these are some of the emerging issues and operative functions of the human resources management. So lesson 2 ends here, and then we'll be moving on to lesson 3, which talks about all of the HRIS system, human resources information system, policies and procedures. But before moving on, is there anything that anyone wants to raise? Any questions or any insights till now? Okay, great. We can move ahead. So, what is HR systems? We need to understand, before understanding HRIS, which is Human Resources Information Systems, we need to understand what HR systems are. So, HR management works as a system of interrelated subsystems. So, what they are saying is, to achieve organizational goals, it has to have, for example, the HR system needs to have personal data of the employee, the salary and bonus data of the employee, and then the emergency contact of the employee, or if we have paid out any incentives to them, then that needs to be stored. And what career path they are and what level of what level of organizational ladder they are. We need to store that data, and if they have any job titles or job skills, that needs to be updated and kept in place. So all of these interrelated subsystems uh, that are coming into effect as an HR system, and it interacts with other systems like production, marketing, and finance also. For example, all the salary data from the HRIS system goes to finance for monthly payroll processing. So it is a central coordinating unit. That is what HR system is. And then the effectiveness is depends on how well it is integrated with other departments. As I was saying, if the well-being team is concerned about the employees' well-being and they need a emergency contact, then the HR system should be integrated well with the well-being team so that they can come in and view the emergency contact data of the employee whenever they need to. Similar example is how finance needs to access the salary data of the employees. So this is what HR systems is all about. Um, Here again, it is saying it is a computerized database system that is used to store, manage, and retrieve. We need to store the data, and then we need to manage it so, to make sure it's being updated from time to time. And then whenever required, we need to retrieve the employer related information from the HRIS system. And then whenever we need to make a decision or we need to make a report, for example, let's say in India, how many people are getting salary that is above 10 lakhs in a for an year, let's say. If that kind of data we need to report to the executive team, for that also HRIS system comes into place. We can run reports and we can easily identify the people who are based in India and getting salary for more than 10 lakhs in a year. And then again, strategic planning is also happening because of having correct data in the HRIS system. And what is the another benefit is that it reduces the manual work because we are giving self-service option to the employees. They can come in and and update their personal information by themselves. So it reduces the manual work and then also improves the accessibility of HR data. We can easily access the information of an employee through HRIS anytime we need to retrieve the information. So this is what a gist of human resource information system. And what is the objective? Why we need to have an HRIS system? Again, as we were discussing earlier, it is to improve the efficiency. Some of the examples are attendance and payroll, as we discussed earlier, and it is also helping with better decision making and then accuracy and reliability. So as long as we have accurate data in the system, it minimizes the errors when compared to manual entries, because to be human is to make error. So if it is automatic and if it is computerized, then there will be less errors. And strategic focus, again, HR managers don't have to go in and update every employee's data manually. So it frees up times for HR managers to focus on long-term organizational goals. These are the main objectives of HRIS, which is Human Resources Information Systems. And then what is the components of HRIS? So there are three main components, which is first thing is input, second thing data maintenance, and third thing is output. We can remember it as a flow. So before maintaining a data, we should first have the data. So that is why input is coming as first part. We need to collect and enter employees data such as their personal phone number, email address, their emergency contact, or what is their attendance and what is their performance score. Everything we need to collect and enter it into the HRIS system. Then we need to maintain the data. We need to store it, and whenever that is changing, for example, let's say the employee has bought a new phone number, so they need to update this phone number in the system, or they have opened a new email address, or they have a new emergency contact. In terms of in India context, let's say if a female employee is getting married, obviously their emergency contact will be changing from being their father to their husband as such. So all these updated from time to time. And then also we need to process the data into meaningful information. As I was saying, if executive is looking for an information like how many employees are getting annual salary more than 10 lakhs, then we need to be easily go into the HRIS system, pull a report, and make sure we are giving the correct numbers to the executive team so that they can make decisions based on it. They can allocate more budget or less budget based on that information. And then the third thing is output. Again, as I was saying, it will be helpful for the HR team to generate reports that can be used for decision making and also for compliance purposes. Compliance is nothing but aligning with whatever the government mandated or legally mandated rules. For example, let's say providing maternity leave to expected mothers for at least 6 months is mandatory as per India labor law. So we can easily if an audit comes up, if an auditor is asking whether we have provided this leave type to all the expected mothers in the last 5 years, we can easily pull a report and show it to the auditor and say that we are compliant, we are being compliant in our processes. So that is what output is all about. So the components is input, data maintenance, and output. That's it. Moving on, we are moving on from HRIS to HR policies and procedures. So we need to understand the difference between policy and procedure. That is what is being explained under meaning. So policies are nothing but they are general guidelines that define what should be done. So it will just be like you have to do this. For example, let's take maternity leave policy only. It will have guidelines to say that okay, you have to inform the HR team 4 weeks before the start date of your maternity leave, and you have to enter maternity leave date, maternity leave in your timesheets to have accurate data reflecting in our HRIS systems. So the policies will only have general guidelines, but procedures differs from policy because it will have step-by-step instructions on how to implement the policies. So that is what the difference between policies and procedures. Now, what is the purpose of HR policy? Why we should have HR policy is because for everyone in the organization, we have to be fair. It should not be like for one person, something different can happen. Like, let's take maternity leave only. For one person, it is not like they need to go on maternity leave for 1 year. For another female employee, we should not say they should return from maternity leave within 6 months or after 6 months. We should not say that. It has to be consistent for every employee and for all the decision making across the organization. That is what the second point says is also it has to be fair and equal treatment of employees, and again improve communication between management and employees expectations. So everyone in the company and the manager level will know, okay, if someone is asking for a maternity leave request, then they will not be available for the next 6 months. So management and employees can improve that communication. So this is the purpose of HR policies. Moving on, how we can formulate and implement the HR policies. First step, we have to formulate the HR policies. Then we have to implement it in real time. So formulation, how it happens is that we have to analyze the culture of the company and values of the company before drafting the policies. Most of the companies will have their own values. For example, some companies can have values like honesty and integrity as one of its value, which means that we have to make sure that we are being honest in our policies and we are being integrate we are maintaining integrity with our policies, so that the employees don't come and raise disputes over the policy. So we have to analyze the culture first, and then we have to consider legal requirements. For example, as I was saying, maternity leave in India, it needs to be 6 months. Less than 6 months is not applicable and it is illegal actually. So we need to make sure that we are considering the legal requirements for any policies that we are formulating and all the external factors that can affect it. And then we also need to gather inputs from other managers who are not HR managers and employees and unions to make sure it aligns with everybody. And we have to draft it, review it, and finalize it to ensure clarity and fairness, so that the end user, that is let's say an employee who is not even working very closely with HR, even when they read the policy, it has to be very very clear for them. So we have to draft it, review it, and finalize it as such. So these are the main things in formulation of HR policies. Now implementing it in real time. So the first point is line managers play a key role. It doesn't matter how many times HR is HR is showing up with the policy and asking them to follow it, or um, whatever risk or whatever communication way they take, at the end of the day, line managers play a key role in applying policies in daily operations, because the employees who are working in a team will not reach out to their HR managers in the first instance. They will only reach out to their line managers and say that, hey, I have to take paternity leave, or I have to take maternity leave, or there is some uh, I have lost a close family member, so I have to go on bereavement leave for some days. So line manager plays a key role in that aspect. And then HR, what HR team will do, they can only provide guidance and training and the interpretation of policies, how the policies can be interpreted for different situations. So these things can happen. And the implementation and the success of the HR policy can only be dependent on fair implementation. It should not be unfair from one employee to another, as we discussed in previous slides. So it has to be fair implementation across all the levels of employees. It is not like senior manager will get more days of leave for something. The same For the same thing, the junior level employees are getting very less timing of leave or something like that. That applies to all the benefits that are provided by an organization. So this is what formulation and implementation of HR policy talks about. And HR policy areas, again, this they go through the same topics again and again. First thing is maintaining equity and fairness, and the decision should not be biased at all. It should be unbiased at all the time. And work-life balance, to make sure people can have kids, people can get married, people move out from one place to another due to their personal needs. So for all this, we need to make sure they are having flexible work practices. And some people wants to work part-time because their children are going to school, and when they return from school, there's no one to go and pick them up or take care of the kids after school hours. So we need to make sure that the flexible options the HR team is providing, so that they can live their life also while working. And then performance management, again, setting and evaluating goals for the employees. Health and safety, we need to make sure the working conditions are really good. And many companies, they do a fire drill these days every month, to make sure if there is fire in the building, then the employees know what to do next. This is one such example, but health and safety covers a lot of things. And employee relations, again, managing conflicts and communications between the management level and the low level employees. So HR is acting as a bridge between them. So these are some of the HR policy areas that is discussed in our book. And what are the trends and challenges in human resources management? The first thing is globalization. As I was saying, if the company is only operating in one single country, then there is no problem. The policies will not differ from country to country. Maybe state to state it can differ, but not country to country. So we have to manage a diverse and international workforce. So let's take TCS for example. We know that TCS is a multinational company which operates in many different countries. Like we have in US, we have in Asia Pacific, we have in EMEA region, which is Middle East. So everything, they need to make sure that the policies are aligned with statutory requirements, and the employees are being managed effectively across the globe. And then technology, again, adoption of automation and HRIS systems. As we were seeing, HRIS system is a fully computerized, digitized platform. So we need to adopt to that technology. And then employee expectations. Nowadays, expectations from employees are very, very high, especially in corporate or IT field areas, where they demand for growth, they demand for flexibility. As I was saying, flexible working hours they are demanding, and they are also demanding for meaningful work. They just don't want to do monotonous work all day long. They want something, they want to achieve something in their work. They want to do meaningful work. So these are some challenges that are faced by human resource management. And then skill gaps, we need to be continuously training and upskilling. Most of the companies, this um, for now, that if you are working in IT, that almost all of the companies are talking about AI these days. How we can implement AI in our work, what can AI do for us, how we can do this and that. with AI. So there is a need for continuous training and upskilling. Again, workforce changes is also happening. As I was saying, remote working policy is a very trending one in the HR world right now. So the rise of remote work and contract employees are changing. So we need to make sure that the policies are designed with them also in mind, with the remote working employees or contract employees are also in mind while drafting or formulating or implementing the policy. So these are some of the trends and challenges we are facing in HRM as of today. So lesson 3 is over with the last slide. Are there any questions or insights from the audience? Okay, great. Let's move on to lesson 4, which totally talks about human resource planning, which we saw as a subtopic in operative functions. So what is the meaning of HR planning? We need to understand the meaning first. So it is a continuous process. It does not happen just one time and disappear. It happens continuously. It is a continuous process, and making sure that right people are in the right job and available at the right time. So this is very important. So this is what HR planning is all about. Yesterday we were discussing about this how election commission is implementing the SIR, and how they would have needed many people in the ground level to work for them to complete the goal. So they should forecast, they would have forecasted it and make sure, okay, how many constituencies we have, and in each constituency how many voters are there. So they would have planned it effectively, and they would have forecasted the amount of people that are needed for groundwork. So that is what HR planning is all about. And again, it matches demand with supply. Demand and supply needs to be matched in terms of HR planning. So if there is a job requirement, then the workforce available within the team needs to be matching with the demand, or the forecasting should have already happened and the hiring should be in force. If there is a job requirement, then of course there should be hiring going on, and then that is how we can match the demand with supply. And then the third point what it is saying is, it has to support what the organization is doing currently, so that it doesn't stop. The operations that are happening already in the company is also stays the same, but also hiring for the future organizational growth, for the additional work that we need to do to make sure the organization is growing. So we need to make sure the current work is also running, but future work is also happening parallelly. So that is what HR planning is all about. And we need to make sure people are available. The human resources are available to do all these tasks. Now, this is what HR planning is all about. Now, there are two types of HR planning. One is long term and another one is short term. Long term is called as strategic planning. As I was saying, a strategic planning comes in future focused. So what needs to be done in the next 3 to 5 years in the company? So let's say there is a company, and they are saying that, okay, we are vouching to carbon zero in the next 5 years. Carbon zero is nothing but there is no carbon emission being done by the operations that are running, that are being run by the organization itself. So if they are keeping a goal as, okay, the company will be carbon zero in the next 5 years, then we need to make sure that the organizational mission is aligned with HR and the long term goals. And also within this goal, we need to make sure, if this goal is set by a CEO today, we need to make sure if the CEO resigns from the company or leaves the company in a 3 year mark or 4 year mark, then we need to also have succession planning. We need to make sure that there is someone available already, someone who knows about this project, who works closely with the current CEO and knows all these things, so that we can plan the succession in unfortunate situations like the CEO is getting relieved from the company. So these all comes under strategic planning, that is long term planning. And then short term planning is nothing but immediate workforce, which means in 1 year's time we have to complete this client's ask and we have to provide the project to them. If that is one example of short term or operational planning, which means that, okay, we just need more numbers number of employees to be working for this client, so that we can provide the end product for the client on time, what has been already agreed. So this is one example, and it deals with daily staffing and scheduling and short term recruitment. So these are the types of HR planning that are being discussed in our book. Moving on, we have again another two types of HR planning, which is hard HR planning and soft HR planning. Hard HR planning focuses fully on numbers. It focuses on data, percentage of retention, percentage of attrition, percentage of workforce forecasting, everything is numbers and data, and it ensures the right quantity of employees is available. They only focus on numbers. So let's say if this project requires 100 employees, then it will make sure the 100 employees are available, and out of these 100 employees it will continuously monitor and say that okay, how much will be the retention, retention percentage, or how much would be the attrition, how many people will leave in next 2 years or 3 years, how many people we can actually offer more salary and keep them with us. So all these comes under hard HR planning. But soft HR planning is very opposite to hard HR, and it ensures quality is there. Even though the number of employees is very low, the employees that we have are very much skilled, and they are open to learn. They are open to do more work, or they are open to progress in their careers. So these all comes under soft HR planning. It focuses on the employee motivation and the company's culture and commitment to the role. So this is what soft and hard HR planning is. Now, what are the characteristics of HR planning? So the characteristics, if you think about it from the last slides, obviously it is strategic in nature. It is mainly linked with business goals. It does not link with individual goals or team goals. Mainly, HR planning works for strategic initiatives, and then it needs to be processing in a continuous manner. So regular update needs to be done regularly. We need to make sure, okay, if this person is working here for 2 years, has their salary improved in this 2 years? If not, we need to make sure if it is the right time to give a salary review for this person, and if the performance assessments are happening on time. So everything like this is a continuous process, and it is also an integrated approach where it is connected with all HR functions. HR function is not just one thing, it has multiple different departments in it, such as onboarding, offboarding, operations, compensation and benefits, attendance and time, payroll. Like all many functions are there under HR. So all of these functions need to be connected with each other. So the integrated approach can be upheld. Then top management support is also very much requirement for HR planning, because without management support, HR people are just I don't I shouldn't say this, but it is dummy. It is a dummy function without management support. Whatever HR is trying to do for the company's goodwill, the management needs to support it. Without management support or without management approving it, HR cannot do it. They will just act as a dummy there. So top management support is very much important, and it is a very big characteristic of HR planning. And then moving on, what are the objectives? Why HR planning is needed? To ensure there is availability of skilled workforce. As I was saying, procurement function comes into place here. And then improving the employee performance and productivity. We need to give continuous training and development to the employee, and making sure that their productivity is hitting high all the times, and their performance is also very high. And then align individual goals with organizational goals. As I was saying, HR is the bridge between organizational goals and individual goals, and it needs to make sure they are both aligned. If it is misaligned, then HR has to step in and make sure what are the steps that they can take uh, to align the individual goal with the organization goal. Sometimes HR team will succeed and they will align it. Sometimes they cannot succeed in these things. So what will happen is eventually the employee will leave from the company. They will exit the company. uh, again, if the person is exiting from the company, then we have to start from the top. We have to hire for that role again. So it is very much needed to align the individual goals to organizational goals. Otherwise, what will happening is onboarding rate will also be high in the company. On the other hand, offboarding rate will also be high if the goals are not aligned between the individual who is working for the company and the company itself. And then prepare for future challenges and changes. We need to always make sure, we need to be aware, working in a HR team, or if we are in a HR management role, we need to always be aware and awake of what is happening around us, and we need to be always prepared for future challenges. One of the examples that I was giving yesterday is, the war or the LPG. LPG is not being available in cities. So these are some of the challenges that comes in from time to time. But the HR team needs to be prepared, and it needs to support its employees during these crisis times. And this is one example for a challenge that the HR team can face. But there are many challenges or changes that can be forecasted for the future or anticipated for the future. Moving on, what are the benefits of HR planning? Why HR planning works, or why we need to do HR planning so that the organization can be benefited? First thing, it reduces the recruitment cost. By proactive planning, by forecasting the workforce, by forecasting how many people or how many skills are needed to attain organization goals. The proactive planning is very, very important so that it reduces the recruitment cost without many surprises. And second thing is, it improves the efficiency and productivity for the entire workforce. By HR planning, we are making sure that every people in the organization have a line manager so that they can trust on them, they can talk about things with them, and it will enhance the productivity altogether. And third point, it is saying it helps in identifying skill shortages early. So this is why many companies run a probation period for new joiners. So this identifying shortages can only be done if the employee is being put into probation period at least 6 months from their start date. If the new joiner is joining by successfully clearing the interview, on the job, how they are performing and how their skills is matching is very, very important. So many companies will have this probation period kind of. If the employee is not passing the probation, then eventually they will have to look for other potential joiners. This is why it is very much important to identify skill shortages early. And then support, as we were seeing throughout, it supports the organizational growth and competitiveness. So let's say CTS and TCS are competition to each other. So by doing HR planning, it supports the competitiveness, staying competent in the market between these two consultancy companies, as I was saying as an example. So it supports it. HR planning supports the competitiveness. Next, we are moving on to job analysis. This is the last topic in the unit 1. So job analysis is nothing but just collecting and analyzing the job related information. For example, if we need to post a uh, um job ad for some role, we need to make sure the job is being analyzed correctly, and we are collecting all the information about the job, like when do they need to log in, or how many hours of work they need to do per day, and what kind of skills do they need to be successful in this job, and what else is required for the employee to, any kind of requirements they need to have for this job. All kind of information we have to analyze and collect. That is the meaning of job analysis. And it identifies what a job involves and what skills are required. Very simple. For example, if we take a sales position, then obviously they need to have some experience in sale, and if they are a new joiner, they have to have interest in sales. They need to know how to pitch in, they need to know how to influence other people. So influence being making uh, being influencer is one skill that is required for a sales job. So these are some type of examples that we can provide. And what are the features of job analysis? It is very systematic and data driven process. It will go, it will so the HR managers themselves standalone cannot provide a job analysis. They will be dependent on the other people who are actually doing the job. So they will just have a consulting session with the people who are actually doing the job, and they will be asking questions like, okay, what needs to be done, what we need to advertise in the job post so that we can attract potential employees joining our company. So it is very systematic and data driven process, and it helps in recruitment, training, performance, and performance evaluation. So performance evaluation, as we speak in the future also, people will join the company, they will do the work, and when we are asking for more things to be done, they can they can spot and say that, but this was not mentioned in my job post, or this was not mentioned in my job description, something like that. So it is very, very important that all the things that needs to be done by this resource needs to be listed in the job description effectively. And then it also again defines the job roles, what are the responsibilities that are that needs to be taken care by this person, and what are the expectations in a clear manner. uh, so now we are moving on to job description and specification. Job description is nothing but it describes the duties, responsibilities, and working conditions. It will clearly tell you if you have to work night shift or not. It will clearly tell you if you have to work on weekends or not. So these are some examples of working conditions of a job. So the job description needs to be very descriptive, as stated by the name. It needs to describe be descriptive of all the responsibilities and all the working conditions of a job, so that there is no complaints from the person who is joining the company later in the day. And it also helps the employees who are applying for the job to understand what is expected from them. The communication can be clear during the interviews, if we before if we give the information beforehand through job description. And job specification is nothing but it is defining the qualification that is required for the job, the skills that is required to do this job effectively. For example, if we are hiring for a accountant role, if the company is hiring for an accountant role, they would definitely need someone who has done BCom in financial accounting, or in general BCom as well. So those are some qualifications. For a senior level, the qualification may change, like they will have to complete MCom. And for most senior level of accountant, sometimes the company can ask that the person has to be a CA. They have to be a chartered accountant to do this job. So these are some of the qualifications that will be mentioned in job specification, the skills that are needed. For example, if the company is using let's say Tally. Tally is accounting software. So if the company is using Tally for all their accounting needs, then in skills we need to mention that, okay, you need to know working knowledge of Tally, how to work in Tally. That will only suit us because the company is already paying for Tally and they are using it. And also based on the position, based on the level of the position, experience should also be mentioned. If they are hiring for an intern position, they should be very level less experience they might need. If they are hiring for a mid-level manager, then they will be asking for 3 to 5 years of experience. Very senior positions they may ask for 7 to 8 years of experience in the same role. So again, these all comes under job specification. And personal attributes are also required. They have to be calm, and they have to be open to challenges. They have to be consistent in their work, and very attentive to detail. So all these things come under personal attributes. And then also job specification helps in selecting the right candidate for the job, because as I was saying, even before them applying to this job, we are giving this specification, we are advertising the specification to the potential joiners. So only the people who can align themselves with the job description and specification will apply for the jobs. So it helps in selecting the right candidate for the job as well. And then with that, we are ending unit 1 of human resources management. If there are any questions, please, or any insights, we can discuss now.